Thanks for joining us. We're going to share what you need to know about the 2024 hurricane season, from breaking down the names forecasters will use to explaining misconceptions about the cone of uncertainty. Let's jump right in. Meteorologist Alex Forbes is going to tell us what we can expect this season.
Ben, that's right. We are expecting an above average hurricane season, but you might be asking yourself, what exactly is average? Well, we break it down into several categories: tropical storms, hurricanes, and then major hurricanes embedded within that. So first, tropical storms, of course, that's winds of 39 to 74 miles an hour, 14 of those expected. Of those, at least 7 are expected to get above that 74-mile-an-hour threshold and reach hurricane status. And of that 7, we expect 3 to be Category 3 or higher in any given average season. Well, 2024 is not going to be an average season. This is the official NOAA forecast: 17 to 25 tropical storms, 8 to 13 hurricanes, and 4 to 7 major hurricanes. Here's what the director of NOAA had to say about the forecast.
The forecast for named storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes is the highest NOAA has ever issued for the May outlook.
And he went on to talk about the La Nina pattern that we have setting in, the combination of that and the warm sea surface temperatures making for a forecast that is certainly eyebrow raising. But NOAA's not the only one. Every year, Colorado State University also releases a forecast that's pretty reliable, and these are the numbers they've got: 23 tropical storms, of which 11 becoming hurricanes and 5 becoming major hurricanes. Now, it's hard to forecast exactly where these storms will go this early on in the season, but it's something we're going to be keeping a close eye on in the Weather Center.
As with every new hurricane season, we get a list of new names. Meteorologist Alex Pry breaks down this year's names and what's changed since the last time this list was used.
Every year, the National Hurricane Center cycles through 6 different sets of hurricane names. This year, we are back to the list of names that was last used in 2018. Of these names, one name may ring a bell for Central Georgians. That would be Alberto. This is the tropical storm that infamously caused the flood of '94. There are 20 other names that we will use during the 2024 hurricane season, but you may notice some new ones. Francine and Milton are replacing Florence and Michael. They both caused extensive damage and numerous fatalities back in 2018. Hurricane Florence pounded the Carolina coast and poured record amounts of rain across eastern North Carolina and northeastern South Carolina. And Hurricane Michael needs no reminder of how hard it impacted us and the Florida Panhandle. But with an above-average hurricane season forecasted, more named storms could form than names available. If this were to happen, the National Weather Service would use a supplement list of names if we make it to hurricane number 22 this summer. It would be the first time this list is used. Back in 2020, the old backup list of Greek letters was retired. This new list starts back at the letter A and has a total of 21 more names for a grand total of 42 possible hurricane names this year.
Thanks, Alex. When we talk about these storms as they approach, you'll see us use a track made by the National Hurricane Center. It looks like a cone, but you might get the wrong idea about what it actually means. Meteorologist David Guerrero is here to let you know what you should be on the lookout for when you see this on TV or your phone.
The National Hurricane Center uses weather ensembles and models to produce forecasts for any given tropical system. Here are a few things to know about the cone of uncertainty that can be confusing. For starters, the cone tells you where the eye of the storm is expected to go. It's the probable forecast track of the center of the storm up to 5 days out. More importantly, the center of the storm only remains in the cone about 2/3 of the time. That's because the width of the cone is based on previous forecasts from the National Hurricane Center, not the models. What does the cone not tell you? The size or the impacts, which are probably the most important parts of the forecast. In every cone, impacts will reach far beyond the boundaries, especially in this short-term time period. Lastly, the cone changes. Small changes in the trajectory of a storm can have significant impacts on the cone, especially the further the forecast goes out in time.
With tropical systems, your location does matter when it comes to what kind of effects you'll see from the storm and what kind of damage you can expect. You may hear us say something about the dirty side of the storm. So what is that, and why is it important?
The dirty side of a storm refers to the area of a hurricane or tropical system where you'll find the highest winds, highest storm surge, and greatest tornado threat. So which side of the storm is that? Well, generally, it's the northeast side of the storm, or more simply put, the right side of the storm. It also depends on which direction the storm is moving. If it's traveling in a northern direction, the dirty side will be more on the direct right-hand or eastern side. If the storm is traveling in a more westerly direction, the dirty side will be more on top of it. So what makes that side of the storm dirty? Well, it's all about the wind direction and a little math. If a storm is moving north at 30 miles an hour and has wind speeds of 100 miles an hour, then the storm will produce winds of 130 miles an hour on the right or dirty side of the storm, while on the left side, winds move in the opposite direction of the storm's movement one, so they'll be slower at 70 miles an hour. It's important to remember though, even as the storm grows stronger, every side becomes dangerous.
We say all the time, Central Georgia sees it all. But when it comes to hurricanes and tropical systems, that may not always be the case. Here's what we have to be concerned about and what we don't.
Storm surge and Category 5 winds are usually what people associate with the worst part of hurricanes. But the good news in our neck of the woods is that those two impacts are something we will never face. Realistically, we look at threats from wind up to about Category 3 strength, tropical tornadoes, and of course, inland flooding. It's not the same as storm surge, but it could be just as deadly. 30 years ago, flooding from Tropical Storm Alberto claimed the lives of 31 people, making it the deadliest storm in central Georgia history. And it was only a tropical storm. By the time a hurricane or tropical storm reaches central Georgia, it can still dump large amounts of rain, overwhelming our local streams and waterways. Tornadoes are also a possible threat, as the outer bands on the right side of a hurricane can provide the right environment for tornado development. When the historic Hurricane Katrina was causing havoc in New Orleans, its outer bands produced multiple tornadoes in central Georgia, with the worst tornado destroying a bank in Fort Valley. And while we'll never have to worry about Category 5 force winds, central Georgia can still have up to Category 3 winds, which is still strong enough to cause widespread damage, just as we saw in 2018. That's when Hurricane Michael brought 90 to 100 mile-per-hour winds and caused a massive hit to agriculture, costing the local economy nearly $500 million. While central Georgia will never see a hurricane at its full potential, the threats of these tropical systems still endanger lives, property, and our economy.
As David mentioned, when storms hit land, they weaken because their energy source is cut off, which means we're pretty lucky to be far inland here in central Georgia. But when we're tracking storms, coastlines close to us can be the first to see devastating impacts. So let's review what happens when people have to evacuate. Folks in Bryan, Chatham, Glenn, and McIntosh counties are all in evacuation zones. When they're asked to leave their homes, they'll make their way up towards us here in central Georgia via I-16. That's when the Georgia Department of Transportation sets their contraflow plan in action. Now, it starts in Savannah, where there are 2 paved median crossovers that let westbound traffic cross over into eastbound lanes to also move west. This doubles the amount of people that can get out. Contraflow ends near exit 39 at State Route 29 in Lawrence County. In 1999, Hurricane Floyd threatened Georgia's coast. Cars sat in traffic for hours as folks got stranded on the sides of the interstate trying to outrun the storm. At the time, it was the largest peacetime evacuation in U.S. history. 2.6 million people fled coastal areas in Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Barriers will be added to stop people from going up the wrong direction on an exit. Only 7 exits are available between Savannah and Dublin if evacuees are moving west in the eastbound lane. So if contraflow is activated, GDOT says avoid the interstate. You won't be able to travel farther than exit 39 going eastbound on I-16. You'll still see normal 2-way traffic on the rest of I-16 between Macon and exit 51 in Dublin. Don't forget, you can track hurricanes along with our weather team all season long as they approach central Georgia. Find it all on the 13 WMAZ mobile app. Just look for the Hurricane Center section. You'll also find information on ways to stay prepared when a tropical storm or hurricane comes to our area. Download the 13 WMAZ app from Google Play or the Apple Store. Do it right now. That wraps it up for our preview of the 2024 hurricane season. And we've talked about what to expect and what you'll see and hear as we track these storms through November. Thanks for joining us. And remember, you can find this anytime online at 13WMAZ.com and on the 13 WMAZ Plus app.